The A-List is St. Louis Magazine's annual tribute to the people, places, things, and restaurants in St. Louis that deserve an extra shout out, and we devote an entire issue to it every summer, as well as this podcast.
This episode of Arch Eats is sponsored by the St. Louis Symphony Orchestra's Young Friends membership.
Hi, I'm George Mahey, and with me is my A-plus list co-host.
This is Cheryl Baird. George, you are too kind. I'm getting a big head about this.
This go-around on Arch Eats, we're going to read between the lines of the September issue and talk about some of the A-list restaurant trends we see emerging. Everybody likes to hear about trends, but before we do that, it's what we can't stop thinking about. Cheryl, you're in the pizza mode again.
I'll tell you, I must love pizza. I don't think I have some abnormal obsession with it, but a good pizza is just hard to beat.
And a bad pizza's okay.
It's
that's
fine.
how crazy we are about pizza.
Exactly. It gets the job done. But one place that is never just okay is Pizzeria de Gloria. I have waxed poetically about this place. I guess the breaking news is that I ordered something. Well, I shouldn't say I ordered something different than the Banchi pizza, which is that eggplant one. I definitely ordered that. But I also ordered a blackberry jam and cheddar pizza.
What?
And I was thinking to myself, blackberry jam and cheddar on a pizza?
I'm
I'm not sure. Oh my God. It blew me away. This thing is so good. Again, it is a sauceless pizza like the Banchi. They put the Prairie Breeze cheddar on there, which is a really high quality, tangy cheddar. And then it's blackberry jam. But the blackberry jam isn't slathered on like a sauce. It's more of a drizzle. So it's subtle enough. I would not call this a sweet pizza. It's more that it just accents that cheddar. It's so fantastic. They finish it with a little bit of sage, a little pecorino romano. There is some mozzarella on there. And then the pro tip is you can add prosciutto to it, which
okay.
10 out of 10 recommend. It's kind of like when you've had prosciutto pizzas with a fig jam. It's kind of a play on that. Unbelievable.
And I'm glad you said that because one of my favorite pizzas of the summer is his prosciutto and peach
Oh,
pizza.
yes.
So
Had that too.
Joe Karowski is a master at pizza
Yes.
specials. And I know he's got a couple more coming up for the fall, but I was just talking to him. Besides that, he's doing a different kind of carpaccio with Volpe Bresaola,
Ooh,
the salted dried beef. And he kind of treats it just the way you would carpaccio with extra virgin olive oil and some pine nuts and some pecorino romano and some big leafed arugula. And I can't wait to try that. So you can get in the mood for anything you want at Pizzeria de Gloria, but you'll end up ordering one of those specials.
Just brilliant. So what about you? What's on your
I'm going to
agenda
shift
this week?
gears and bring you to your old hood, Old
Oh.
Town Florissant, made by Leah Craft Bakery. And people that don't know about her, this is Leah Holter. If you remember, she won TLC's Next Great Baker competition with Buddy the Cake Boss. This was like 10 years ago. And I think this is maybe what launched her career a
Yes,
little bit.
absolutely.
She beat 10 other teams, won the contest, and she's now has her little bakery up there, and she's doing the best brioche cinnamon rolls on Cinnamon Roll Saturdays. The best chocolate chip. I just had these the other day on the John Carney show.Maybe the best chocolate chip cookie in town.
Oh,
It's got
George.
the crispy edges and,
yeah.
and then gooey in the middle. It's hard to make them that way.
Yeah, it
People
is.
either they're gooey throughout or they're crispy throughout. This was an excellent cookie, but I'm not here to talk about that. I'm here to talk about her being a master cake baker. And I've showed you a picture of this. She hand paints layered cakes with abstract flowers that she applies using an art spatula, like a
Ooh.
painter would apply oil paint
Wow.
in big swaths.
Sure.
And she calls it Bob Ross style,
Oh, I
using the
love
same painting knives that he
love
uses. So
it.
that should give you an idea. These are works of art for sure. And because they are, you have to give her 2 to 3 weeks notice. I didn't know that she was doing this. And I said, does anybody else do this in town? She goes, I don't know anybody else that does it anywhere. I mean, you can have a single layer or a triple layer, do it however you want. But, oh my gosh, it's unbelievable. And for the next time you need a special cake, this is where you go.
Well, we both have birthdays coming up, so that's good food for thought.
Besides that, Leah just put out her first book, Everyday Craft Baking. And she's got her first book signing on September 4th at 6 p.m. at the St. Louis County Library at Frontenac.
And I've seen that book, and these recipes are accessible. even someone like myself who's more of a savory cook than a baker, I'm feeling pretty inspired. I think I can handle it with her guidance.
Well, she's the real deal, and I hadn't seen her in a while, and it was great catching up with her. So, yeah, check out the chocolate chip cookies, but don't sleep on that cake. We'll be right back.
The St. Louis Symphony Orchestra's Young Friends membership. The new season kicks off its first Young Friends night with Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone in concert. Relive the film that started it all while your St. Louis Symphony Orchestra performs John Williams' iconic score live Friday, October 3rd at Powell Hall. Learn more at slso.org/youngfriends. And now, back to the show.
Let's keep talking about sweet things. We're going to start talking about the A-list, and we kind of looked at this, like I said, read between the lines a little bit, and pulled out some trends that we thought are, I wouldn't call them A-list trends, but trends that came about because of this A-list. And one of them was the new dessert concepts in town that have sprung up. And we talked a little bit about this in a prior episode, a place called Domo out in Olivet that has this contraption that swirl freezes ice cream made to order, completely customizable. It's this really cool looking gizmo, this giant auger, and it mixes up your ice cream and then it cleans itself for the next use.
That's so cool.
I've never seen anything like this. Apparently, it's the only one in town. Another one I know that we talked about, Cheryl, was Bingsu, the Korean shaved ice dessert. And there's a place called Vampire Penguin in the Central West End that has something similar. It's the same type of superfine shaved ice. I think they call it snow appropriately, but they top it with flavors and flavorings like Reese's chips and banana cream pie. They've got a gooey butter cake instead of the fresh fruit that they do for traditional Bingsu. So it's kind of fun. It is a chain, brand new to the Central West End. And you've got a couple that you like too. I know we talked about Twisted Rolls before.
This is the Chimney Cakes place out in West County. And the best way to describe a chimney cake, it's almost the texture of a cinnamon roll that's been elongated where it's somewhat doughy.
It's like a cruller.
Exactly. Yeah. It's not quite that crispy, though. They are almost that, not spongy, but closer to that in texture. And they fill them with all sorts of fun things. It's ice cream, it's whipped creams, any sort of topping. They'll coat it in fruity pebbles. They'll throw pistachios on it. They're doing a Dubai chocolate one. So many different fun things. A friend of mine said that she had these when she lived in Hungary. It's a very popular street snack there. So that's one of them. The other one, I know I talked about this last episode, what I couldn't stop thinking about is Melt and Dip. And what an awesome concept. It's just so over the top. This is the first location in Missouri. There's going to be a couple more springing up here and there, but just think over the top desserts, crepes, waffles, ice creams, cakes, brownies, anything you can think of. And they coat it again, all sorts of toppings. Such a fun spot. We talked about Bingsu, whether that's at Cafe Ganadara or whether that's at Spoonful. So many fun options. And to put a point on it in terms of trends, what I've noticed about all of these is they are international dessert concepts. These are not just more custards or ice creams or snow cones. They all have an international slant, whether that's the Hungarian chimney cakes. Melt and Dip actually originated in the United Arab Emirates.
Right.
Spoonful, Cafe Ganadara are Korean. I know Vampire Penguin has an international flair. Domo does as well. I think that's really cool. We're kind of, getting a fun, full picture on international dessert concepts.
Instead of going out for just ice cream or custard, you can try any one of these new places, and we think there's going to be a lot more coming.
Yes.
So a bunch of dessert places have come on the scene, and a bunch of new cocktail bars have too in the last year. And we, again, gave a shout out in the A-list to several of them. One I really am impressed with is a place called The Moniker, and it's downtown on Washington Avenue. It's got some serious people behind it, a guy named Jordy Logan who knows his stuff. He's from The Last Hotel, from the Four Seasons Hotel. He's a good restaurant operator. And the chef is a guy named Mark Brown of the Four Seasons Hotel. Between the two of these guys, they've put together I think what somebody called a decidedly elevated cocktail and restaurant bar. Really creative cocktails. And one of their partners is Alex Oliver, who's played an important part in the redevelopment of Washington
Mhm.
Avenue. And he thinks this is going to be an important piece in the redevelopment that he's sponsoring down there. Really good food, great cocktails. Chef Brown does a chicken rib.
We've talked turkey ribs already. Now we're taking it to the next level with chicken
Yeah,
ribs.
and it's kind of the same thing. It's kind of a marketing invention, point of reference. If you like chicken, you'll like this. If you like ribs, you'll like this. It's where the breast meat meets the rib cage, right? So it's not too far of a stretch. But again, you think about that when the meat is on the bone, it's going to be a lot more juicy, a lot more tender. So they treat this with a little Korean barbecue sauce.
Ooh.
It's really a good item. And again, you had me at chicken, you had me at ribs. Yeah, chicken ribs. Salmon cakes are great. His shrimp and grits are great. But I think this is an interesting and definitely needed concept downtown, a really nice cocktail bar. There's other ones too. One is Opry in the Grove, which I think we've
Yes.
talked about. It's more of a wine and amaro bar. Not quite a year old. They've got a new chef there. I don't think we've talked about him, a guy named Adrian Maldonado, who's been at Sydney Street. He's been at Balkan Treat Box. He's been at Idle Wolf. So this guy knows his stuff.
Yes.
And his debut was last week at an event called Plates and Pairings of Mexico, because that's his heritage. It's the latest chapter of their dinner series, which they do quite a bit. One of the things they do there is a la carte service, but there's also a 4-course tasting menu for $60, which is a great idea. I love their menu because they've got the a la carte items on one side and the pairings on the right side of the menu. So you don't have to page through different menus to see that it's right in front of you. I like that they've done that. They've got wine flights, they've got Amaro flights, cocktails and digestivos and all kinds of good things. That is a really cool place. And again, it blurs the line a little bit between what a cocktail bar is and what a restaurant is.
Right?
We talked about this before. I've always said, if you can have a meal there, it's a restaurant.
Absolutely.
Some people might call Opry a cocktail bar. I call it a cocktail bar / restaurant.
And those join the ones that are relatively recent in the game. I would say this next wave of cocktail bars that we've seen over the last year or so, like the None of the Aboves of the world, the New Society, the Speakeasy at Big Chief Roadhouse, way out in my neck of the woods in Wildwood.
There's Off Elm, which is fairly
Yes.
new to Webster, and it's a cool place. 52 seats, walk-in only, really cozy and classy. And their menu isn't quite as evolved as some of these other places, but I find this fascinating because I'm finding myself eating at, quote, restaurants that aren't really restaurants per
Right.
se. And a lot of them are serving these limited menus, these small plates menus, which I think is a smart thing because this is a trend that I think is happening, certainly on the coast, is the rise of what they're calling Ozempic menus.
Yes, absolutely.
Where folks are taking Ozempic and just don't have the appetites that
Right.
they had. And if they order an entree, they're pushing 3/4 of it away. So why not just give them smaller portions? That has become a trend elsewhere. It will become a trend here, I know, in the next 5 years. And these folks, I think, consciously or not, are getting ahead of it.
And what I think is also interesting about these cocktail bars, we have written the obituary of alcohol and cocktails and beer. People are not drinking as much as they used to. So, in the face of that, the fact that we are seeing these cocktail bars rise up and really be successful, that's interesting to me. And I think what that shows is that it's not necessarily that people aren't drinking alcohol at all, but they're being a lot more thoughtful and intentional about it, which is why I think we see these places. They're not just going out to dinner and saying, I don't know, I'll have a gin and tonic or I'll have a vodka cranberry. They are going to drink interesting, thoughtful, crafted cocktails if they're going to drink it all.
Right. Low alcohol or no alcohol.
Yes.
They just want a well-made cocktail at
Absolutely.
this point. I think that's where we are. They don't need or they don't want the alcohol at this point. Very interesting phenomenon.
Well, speaking of no alcohol beverages, I have seen dirty sodas explode all over St. Louis. And this is something,
That's because you're a TikTok fan.
well, I am not a TikTok fan, but I do have an 11-year-old.
Ah.
So, I'm in on all the trends. It keeps me young, George. At least I like to tell myself that.
Okay.
My daughter would absolutely not say that. But with that said,
Dirty sodas, it's a thing.
Dirty sodas are a thing. We talked about this in A-List. I have seen 4 local places spring up now. We have Dirty Pop, we have Crispy Sips, we have Sody, and we have a new one called Poppin' Sons, which I just discovered like 2 weeks ago. And these are fun because they are a way for you to have interesting, creative, customizable beverages without having alcohol. So a lot of people are doing them at pop-ups at maybe a Sweet 16 party or a bat mitzvah or maybe a wedding where people want to have kind of a bar experience, but they don't want to serve alcohol. So it's
But
a
what
lot
are
of
they? For people that don't know,
Yes.
what is it?
For people who don't know, Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, that reality show, is actually what made this trend explode. From there, people started doing TikTok videos about this. Basically, it started in Utah. There's a large Mormon
Yep,
population
yep.
there, and alcohol is something that, as part of their religion, they do not partake in. So a lot of people there in Utah, they still want to have fun drinks, but they can't do it with the alcohol. So they've created these sodas. Basically, it's either club soda or it's even Coke, Diet Pepsi, any fizzy beverage of choice, non-alcoholic. And then you just add things to it. You add coconut cream and lime to your Diet Coke. That's a super popular one.
Doesn't sound good, but
I
I understand it's
know.
really good.
It's really good if you customize them in a thoughtful way. If you start just dumping all sorts of things in, it gets a little bit out of control. But if you're thoughtful about it, it's fun. So you will go to a farmer's market stand for Poppin' Sons, for example, and they have all these soda bases, whether that's colas, Sprites, or club sodas, all sorts of syrups, and then you just kind of mix and match what you want.
So you can do it yourself, or I'm sure they have stock like our
Exactly.
so-and-so sody.
Exactly. Definitely one of those things that people have their go-tos. It's kind of like how Starbucks, a lot of people will customize things there. They're drawing upon that phenomenon and doing these
I
drinks.
just think it's fascinating.
Yeah,
And I thought, and this has been around for a while. It's just now gotten to St. Louis, but it has
Exactly.
been, 5, 6, 7 years, maybe 10 years.
yes.
So here it comes.
Here it
Get
comes.
ready for the dirty sodies.
What's interesting to me is they're all doing them as pop-ups as well. There isn't a dirty soda restaurant outside of like Seven Brew, which is a national chain, which you'll see springing up all over St. Louis. All of these places are mobile soda trucks that show up at a farmer's market or at special events. None of them have done a brick and mortar yet. So I feel like that's the next wave.
And I think some of these are locally owned. Some of them aren't,
Yes.
correct?
The 4 that I mentioned are Seven Brew is not.
And it's interesting because there's a lot of national concepts that have come to town. I'm calling them interactive concepts, the things like chicken and pickle.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's pretty much self-explanatory. Pickleball. There was Putt Shack before that, and
Mhm.
Top Golf even before that.
Sure.
But recently this year, and these are 2 big operations, both of them on the same street in Clayton, 5-Iron Golf, which is what they call a swing suite
Mhm.
concept, where, I mean, they're open from like 6 a.m. till like 11 o'clock at
My
night. So there's
gosh.
guys working on their swing before they go to work. There's people that's hanging out for lunch, taking a few swings. It's just a really interesting and wide-ranging concept. And right up the street is Flight Club, which is the same type of interactive thing with darts.
Yeah,
And,
that's a lot
and
of fun.
darts has become a big thing again. And these places are big. You can reserve them. Great for team building or friends or happy hours. I think you're going to see more of these things, these more interactive concepts coming. And kind of along the same line, I noticed as I was looking through that A-list, the same type of thing. It's more like an entertainment complex. So there's places like the Hub out in Chesterfield,
Mm-hmm.
which has a stage with restaurants bordering it. A place called Cottle Village Farmstead and
Mhm.
Distillery out in Cottleville. They've got a big stage set there with a
Yes.
state-of-the-art sound system. So you can go hang out, you can listen to a concert, you can have a little snack, you can have dinner, you can have brunch. I think a lot of these places, whether they admit to it or not, they want to keep the customer there a little bit longer. So
Yes.
they're putting in stages. The most recent one, and it hasn't even opened yet, is down in Crestwood at the old Crestwood Mall site where Katie's Pizza is going in. And right across the street, a place called the Mexican STL. These places are both massive, and right between them is a stage for live music that
Yeah.
both of them can use. So you're going to see a lot of kind of shared spaces like that, and both these places will benefit because of it.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting. I think a lot of these places are drawing on the success they've seen at breweries where people go not necessarily because they want to drink the beer. They see them as a gathering place. You can bring the whole family. It's a multi-generational experience. You're bringing your kids out to dinner. They don't have to sit down at a table. You're fine with them running around in front of a music stage while you're having a glass of wine and dinner. I think it's really appealing to that social interaction you can get with these places.
Another thing that they're doing too that I've found interesting, and it makes sense considering the economic climate and how expensive places are to
Mhm.
build and to find and to maintain. They're putting more than one concept under one roof.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
And again, Cottle Village is a perfect example of that. They've got a whole second building that's a distillery. Have some whiskey over here, have some dinner over here, and the concert's behind you. It's brilliant. Four Hands and Peacemaker
Mhm.
in Kirkwood. I mean, that place has just taken off and tremendously successful. Two of St. Louis's more interesting and
Mhm.
successful concepts. And then down in the Grove, I don't know if we've talked about this as much. Ben Welch has done a place called Lucy Quinn / Little Lucy.
Yes.
Two restaurants under the same roof,
Mhm.
completely different concepts, open really different times of the day, different menus, different cocktail menus. I mean, it's brilliant. Again, he's trying to take the same customer and get them there under that same roof more often.
And you get to maximize the real estate. If you're a dinner restaurant, your place is sitting idle until 4 PM. So why not have a reason to draw people in that's an alternative to just offering a lunch menu?
Right. Keep them early and keep them late. Noto and Bormio are doing
Yes.
that out in St. Peter's. You've got the main restaurant Noto that's become very famous out there. You can't get in the place
No.
ever. The place is super popular. And then that little area below is
Mhm.
Bormio, where you can go before while you're waiting for your table. You can go after.
Or you can just go.
Or you
It's
can just
also a
go.
lovely place in and of itself.
And a place that's opening up in U City that kind of is doing the same thing. This will happen later on this year. It's from Mike Del Pietro called Chibo.
Mhm.
He bought this building and he thought, man, I better maximize this. So he's open at breakfast time with a menu, at
Mhm.
lunchtime with a different menu, and at dinner time with a third menu. So he's open all day long, again, trying to get people there at different times under the same roof. I think you're going to see a lot more of that.
Yeah, we didn't talk about Marconi Mercado either. That's a fun one down on the hill where it's a market, it's a coffee shop, it's a lunch place where you can just grab sandwiches. It's a formal dinner restaurant as well. They have so many different things all under
They
one
do.
roof.
I was there the other day for a late lunch. They said, are you here for happy hour? Everybody's here for happy hour. I go, no, but maybe I should be. And the place is packed
Yeah.
between 2 and 6
Wow.
for their happy hour. I had an excellent burger there. But yeah, there's many things going on under that roof at Marconi Mercado.
Well, I think the other thing that we noticed from this year's A-list and something that I find super fun are these interesting food delivery concepts. I don't mean delivery as in to your home like a DoorDash or an Uber Eats. I mean actually in the restaurant getting the food from point A to point B, whether that is neon greens using that system where the food is plucked from the adjacent garden and delivered overhead to the point where they are preparing your salad, or Expat has quite an exciting food delivery system as well, which almost seems kind of Willy Wonka-ish. Have you seen that one?
It's great. The problem is they're on 3 levels.
Yes.
The kitchen's on the first level.
Oh my
How do you get
gosh.
food from level 1 to level 3? Is everybody going to schlep it up the stairs
Right?
200 times a day? No, they've got this little conveyor system, and they really did a cute video. They put a camera on the delivery basket and showed how it goes up and down
Oh,
and
that's so
over
fun.
and around and through. And you
I
see
love
the
it.
exact route that your meal takes as it heads upstairs. It's really a smart idea. It works perfectly. You order your food from a QR code upstairs,
Mhm.
and all of a sudden you can see a little picnic basket coming up, and then
There
the
it
server
is.
serve it to you, and there it is. The other one that's coming, we haven't talked about this, but I know it's coming this fall, is a place called Sakatanoya Revolving Sushi and Ramen Bar.
Oh my gosh, I'm so
A
excited about this
a
place.
definite mouthful. You order from a tablet, and then there's a two-tiered conveyor belt that delivers sushi rolls
Love it.
and ramen and Japanese street food. And I'm told, and this is another interesting part of it, on weekends, the concept will transform into an all-you-can-drink bar
What?
with smaller handcrafted cocktails.
Oh
Again,
my.
this is going to be one to watch because it's really a revolutionary idea, a cool idea. I
Wow.
can't wait.
That is a lot of fun.
And as I was looking through this list, I did notice another trend involving sandwiches.
Mhm.
And Union Loafers started this, making their sandwiches on homemade focaccia bread. And basically anything Union Loafers does is wonderful, as is their focaccia. So
Yes.
that started it. And then within the last year, we see the rise of a place called Big Mouth Sandwich Company,
Mhm.
which two great chefs are in charge of this. Really, really good sandwiches. And if anybody's seen their Instagram pages, you'll just want one right now.
Mm.
Really good sandwiches, and they work inside Perennial Brewing and inside the Mac. So kind of small concept idea that is really just taken off. You know, it's a basic idea, sandwiches, but putting them on focaccia, it makes a difference. There's another guy that's doing it at Garden Variety Deli, Travis Howard and Jack McGuinn. Jack's the chef. And all they do there is 5 sandwiches on this homemade sourdough focaccia that took Jack McGuinn a long time, he says, to perfect. And it's perfect. These are great sandwiches. And that's pretty much all they have there. And again, using all the garden stuff that they have in Jack's garden and in the garden, apparently, that's close by. But focaccia sandwiches, it's a thing.
So, George, we have to end our A-list discussion on a high note. I could not
So to speak.
resist. Cannabis-infused restaurants. I think this is going to be a thing. Euphoria Kitchen and Cocktails on Del Mar is already doing this. And what's so great about it is, you know, we've all heard about cannabis dinners, and you're thinking, my God, I'm going to consume 100 grams before the night is over, and I'm not going to be able to get home, or I don't know what I'm going to
There's
do.
too much mystery involved with them.
Yes, this eliminates the mystery. First of all, you start out at Euphoria with a base of uninfused dishes. So if you wanted to go there and just have dinner that wasn't infused, you could have a delicious dinner. And I've been, the food is wonderful here. They have this stuffed chicken that I still can't stop thinking about. It's wonderful. I would eat it without the cannabis. But
I think that's a great point, too.
yes,
You think that all the food's just loaded with THC, and it's not. It comes with no THC.
exactly. It comes with none. And then you add it in 5 milligram increments. So you can add it to one dish. You can maybe say, I want 5 or 10 milligrams in this, and they infuse the sauce with it. Maybe for your next course, you don't want anything. Maybe for your course after that, you want to put 5 milligrams in the mac and cheese sauce. It's very customizable. They do that with cocktails as well. They're not alcoholic cocktails. They're more mocktails that are made with cannabis. But again, you can infuse it here and there. So you're really having the experience you want to have. You don't feel like you're at the mercy of anyone. Feels very controlled, which I think gives people who might be new to this some comfort.
Absolutely. I think that's it. Because, like you said, everybody's like, oh, wow, how do I control this? Well, it's really easily controlled.
Easily.
And I think that's the way to do it. But one thing that's interesting there is that consumption is welcomed. And you've gone there for dinner. I
Yes.
haven't.
Yes.
So talk about that. You can vape, you can smoke, you can,
All of the above. You can.
but
I
you don't
mean,
have to.
But you don't have to. Although it is funny, they do bring you out some goodies, shall I say, on a tray, as if you're having bread service at a normal restaurant. Instead of a bread basket, you're getting a tray of joints and a grinder, which is very funny. So it's definitely, I don't know if the word is encouraged, but it's made very clear that it is acceptable. So you would think the whole place would just be full of smoke, but I would liken this to a cigar lounge. If you've ever been to a really well ventilated and well done cigar lounge, yes, you are going to get some smell of the smoke in there, but it's not overwhelming. You don't walk in and feel like you're being hotboxed in this place.
Right.
It's actually really well done. It's a big, airy room anyway, so you don't feel super confined. There've been a few other consumption lounges that don't have a food component that have sprung up around town recently. I'm hoping they'll add the food component and really do it how Euphoria did, where they're making it a pleasant atmosphere.
Yeah, this is Euphoria Kitchen and Cocktails. It's on Del Mar, and I call it the East Loop, maybe. And I think that this is the trend. I think it is basically THC optional. I think
Yes.
that's the way these guys are going to sell this. So you can dip your toe in the water or you can dive right in, whatever you want to do. I think that's a really smart way to do it. And like you said, the food's great. Just check it out. What's to lose? So the last thing we're going to talk about is something that's kind of become a trend, and I'm sorry it's become a trend. And I want to call it inaccurate restaurant best of lists that you
George.
see on some of these publications that I've never even heard of.
Yes.
You see the Wall Street Journal or you see Forbes or you see Eater and you go, okay, this is going to be legit because these guys have 9 times out of 10, they've done their homework and their lists reflect that. But some of these others, and I don't want to name them, but they've got some pretty odd names. It's like, wait, they're going to rate food here? And, let's face it, we're all suckers for lists like this.
Sure.
I read them no matter who has put them out
Yes.
because I'm curious. I want to know about the best pizza in St. Louis or the best hamburgers or the best barbecue. But there's one that came out, and again, I'm not going to mention the name, but it was the best restaurants in St. Louis. And I started reading. I went, this guy isn't from here. He didn't do his homework. He didn't consult folks like us. He may have consulted AI. I don't know. But I guess the point of this is buyer beware. You have to be cognizant as you just can't believe everything you read. And, if I was going to check out the best restaurants in St. Louis, there's a whole lot of places you can go besides some out-of-town publication that's just taking a shot at this basically to get some clicks for their magazine. That's what concerns me about it.
Well, and then what concerns me on top of that is then these lists are going to go into AI, which if you are searching for it on like a Chat GPT, then they're going to pull from that. And if you ask at the 25 best restaurants in St. Louis, that's the answer you're going to get. And the stuff's just going to build on one another without any substance behind it.
Boy, that's unfortunate.
Yes.
But basically, the bottom line is reader beware. That's it. And that's it for our cheats. Be sure to follow us and share with your friends. And we always provide links in the show notes for everything you heard about today. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button and follow along on Instagram at St. Louis Mag. And feel free to give us a follow personally at George Mahey and Cheryl A. Bear.
If you loved what you heard, show us some love by rating and reviewing us on Apple Podcasts. And if you're hungry for even more content, you can subscribe to our dining newsletters for the freshest coverage on the local restaurant and culinary scene.
That's it for this week. Best dishes and see you next time.